Discover Mina's unique approach to overcoming obstacles, dynamic process for continuous event improvement, and how she tailors her communication strategy at MEF. Hi, we're so excited to have you here. Today we have Mina Yazdani, who is an events coordinator and mobile ecosystem forum. And I'm very happy to have you here, Mina.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm really used to being behind the scenes. So it's nice to come on the other side of the camera for a change.
And I suppose it's such an important episode for businesses to watch because event management has a crucial part for raising the awareness for the brand, for generating leads, cultivating partnerships. And I think it's so crucial, this episode, to actually watch and explore the topic in depth. Our team has prepared 6 questions for you. So just pick any number and we'll get started.
I will go for 1.
Share a funny or challenging event experience and how you tackled it.
So I'll start off with one of the first big events that I helped out with. And it was at the crucial point in MWC Barcelona, I think 2022. And you can never really plan for the weather, right? We had hired a really beautiful venue. It was so gorgeous. Everything was perfect. The only thing is, it was on a terrace and there was no roof. So you could never tell if it's going to rain, if it's going to be sunny. And Barcelona in February, you don't really know what's going to happen. So we kind of said, let's just go for it and let's have the beautiful drinks reception. Everyone was having a great time. They were dressed up and the worst inevitable happened and it started raining and everybody just dispersed. But instead of panicking or leaving, we got some umbrellas. We held the umbrellas over people's heads. And if they wanted to leave, we would just escort them to the exit and we gave the umbrellas as a giveaway. And that MEF branding on the umbrellas was a really beautiful shot as well, because you could see them carrying them throughout their whole MWC experience.
Yeah, I think also it makes the event even more memorable. When something happens, you will always remember it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, nobody likes to get their hair wet, right? Especially when you've been preparing for all that time and you're there for a formal event. You don't want to be distracted, and we made it work.
Great. Well done. Well done for finding the best solution, even in the worst case scenarios.
Totally.
Shall we go to the next question?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, let's pick number 5. Can you share some innovative tools or resources you use that most people wouldn't expect to be helpful for the event planning?
Okay. So I mean, we use our standard tools. There's a lot of different apps these days, like events apps and kind of project management apps. But for me personally, I really like WhatsApp. So having those WhatsApp group chats, labeling them correctly, putting the right people in the chats and making sure that you can have kind of a behind the scenes element to the main show. That maybe isn't the most interesting one, but it gets the job done for me anyway. And making sure that you prep beforehand. So going to the venue, trying to find a contact if you don't have one already, making friends with people, getting to know the staff, shaking their hand. And I think that's the most effective tool, really, to have that relationship before the day, because then you'll be able to alleviate any problems, communicate with the right person at the right time and know where to go. So try to get in early and try to be people focused.
If we speak about WhatsApp groups, do you have a specific set of messages or strategies that you use when you actually communicate with people?
I think I'm trying to stay away from too formal texts, like sending huge messages or even ChatGPT kind of style. Please meet at this place and do this and do that. And here's a brief. Try to keep it very short and sweet and address people by their names, not who's going to do this or what do you think of this. Try to be a bit more personal when it comes to messages, whether it's internal or external.
Do you actually ask for feedback?
We do, yes. Well, at MEF anyway, we have a big connection with the RCS initiative. So we have a lot of different uses for getting feedback, doing surveys and that kind of thing. But for me personally, again, maybe I'm kind of new to this whole telco field, but I would like to say to get feedback face to face or speak to them, follow up on an email, speak in person, allow them to feel comfortable and say things in the moment instead of a really formal feedback survey or bombard people with loads of loads of messages post-event.
Okay, let's go to the question number 4. How many backup plans do you have in case something goes wrong? I think it's exactly what we were talking about the situation which happened with the rain, but maybe any more pieces of advice.
You can never have enough backup plans, right? I think definitely when it's a big event and you've got a lot of different moving parts and a lot of elements, you shouldn't rely on one person to do everything. Even if there's a speaker that's supposed to go on stage, they're really a big deal. If they fall through, the whole world should not be destroyed. You should always have a backup plan. Set your expectations as well. Don't put too much pressure on one element. Make sure that you can swap it out if need be. Just like the rain situation, you should have, in hindsight, had another room that you'd be able to use as a contingency to move those people. Or if you have a really big speaker that everybody's looking forward to meeting, if they pull out, put the pressure on that organization to say, we'll need you to supply someone else. People have been expecting them to come and they really wanted to hear their insights. So make sure that you can negotiate if things don't go your way, basically.
Absolutely, to be flexible and actually rely on several people if something happens. People could get sick, or there could be any other case scenarios when it becomes impossible to stick just to one person.
100%. And we know this from COVID as well. How many times did we have an event and someone got COVID, or someone had to pull out, or there was even a new lockdown or a new case of COVID that came out the day before an event? You have to kind of plan for these things and adapt and change. And sometimes you can never expect what would happen.
It makes perfect sense. How do you usually tackle negative feedback?
You get a really thick skin, especially if you're in an industry or you're working in an environment where there's a lot of big characters. Let them have it. So any negative feedback is something constructive. And you can also challenge it. We always listen to the feedback, whether it's negative or positive, and we'll put it into kind of a consolidating review. There's never an event that's exactly the same. Even if it looks the same, the chairs look the same, or I don't know, the vibe is very similar to another event. Rest assured, we've always gone through many, many different steps to make sure that we've looked at the pros and cons from the past, and we've listened to our members, and especially if it's a topic that, let's say, is linked to connectivity. We'll always try to make a little bit unique to that experience. So one feedback that I've heard a number of times is maybe the topics are the same, or the food is the same, or this is not to my liking. We do always try to make it a unique experience to all of our guests.
Incredible. Well done for it. How do you tailor your communication strategy to keep the audience engaged during MEF?
I think especially, like I said, about the topic. So making sure that the topic of communication is relevant to the audience. It's all good and well sending out blast emails or just putting out general messages to people. But making sure that you target the right interest group, you could say. And at MEF, we have a lot of different working groups that specialize in different areas of the mobile ecosystem. So let's say it's a fraud event. I wouldn't really go to, I don't know, marketing people to say, would you like to do this? Or let's say it's a wholesale event. I wouldn't really go to an AI section to go, would you like to learn more about this? But be people focused and make sure you address people by name. I would do that instead of general robotic emails or robotic approaches or LinkedIn messages to people that you spell their name wrong. I would obviously ignore if someone spelled my name wrong in a LinkedIn message talking about a business opportunity or a new product or an event that I'd like them to attend or collaborate with.
We already discussed that you implement the feedback, but maybe any other aspects which are worth considering.
I think we're always trying to make things bigger and better. Well, bigger doesn't always mean better, but just more impactful than the last one. We have a couple flagship events, and the last 3 years that I've been with MEF, I've only seen them become bigger and better and more creative and more fun and more easy to attend, more accessible for others, making sure that everybody knows that they're included. Even things like making them accessible for people with disabilities, maybe making sure there's a ramp on stage, making sure that the entrance is accessible for people with all different kinds of needs. And yes, that's something I've learned anyway, is to just make sure that you improve from the past and keep people guessing a little bit, put an element of surprise, or make sure that there's a wow factor. And that's a good way to kind of make sure that it sticks in people's minds and they'll want to come again.
Could you provide any examples when you say the element of surprise?
There are a few cases I can think of. I'm not really on the content side of things. I'm learning though to see what topic kind of spark people's interest. I always like interacting with the audience. So if the moderator or MC or speaker kind of puts someone on the spot, you never really want to be put on the spot, right? But some of the telco experts, they love it. Asking those key questions, giving them a quiz, giving them a hot topic and asking them to answer on the spot, providing incentives, prizes, or things like that. That always kind of gives a surprise. Or if there are two companies that kind of neck and neck for each other and putting them in the same space and asking them the same question and seeing what they're going to say.
That sounds incredibly intriguing. Well done. Mina, thank you so much for sharing so many incredible insights, which are actually easy to implement into the event management. You were incredibly detailed in everything that you said, and we're grateful that you participated in our interview.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me.